Cradily lands the grass knot. We see the aggressive snipe with the karate chop from Machoke, and out comes the Kentucky Fried Chicken bird of death. On paper, Shadow Machoke completely walled here, but Shadow Machoke hits like a truck. The first dynamic punch forced the protect shield. The super spammy Machoke already at the second. The second one lands, rocking them into the red health range. The opponent looks for that incinerate farm down, and Machoke's going to take switch or both protect shields in the mid-game matchup. Welcome back to the channel. Since the season dropped, there's been one question on my mind. Is Shadow Machoke really a top meta threat, or is it a sim hero? And today we're going to answer that question courtesy of one of my favourite battlers, Place Your Wagers. Shadow Machoke sims insanely well. It's ranked 32nd overall in the Great League. It's the 9th highest ranked Shadow and the 2nd ranked Shadow fighter. Until yesterday, it was actually the top ranked Shadow fighter. However, now it's ranked 32nd, Annihilate is slightly above, but still, it sims insanely well. The main issue is going to be that it's stuck on a complete fighting moveset. However, the fighting moveset it's got is pretty good. It's got Karate Chop, one of the best quick moves in the game. It's got the cheap cross chop that got buffed a few seasons ago, and Dynamic Punch that got buffed this season. Today's going to be a triple Shadow team. I don't really think there's too much more to say other than, is Machoke any good? Well, there's only one way to find out. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we see Cradily into Talonflame, a somewhat neutral matchup, more favourable for Talonflame when shields are in play. The opponent pivots into Annihilate, and here comes Grumpig. At the start of the season, I had a lot of high hopes for Grumpig, but I don't think it performs anywhere near as good as simulations suggest. And here's going to be a prime example of why. This isn't even a Shadow Annihilate, but they're still going to be able to go for the one shield, resisted counter farm down, and Grumpig finds itself straight in and straight out. Annihilate might be deep in the red, but we haven't really got a great way of getting rid of it. We send out Machoke. It looks like the opponent paused for about 25 turns there. Not really. It was like free, but still they give us a huge amount of free farm. Fired off the boosted Rage Fist and send out Talonflame. We land the Dynamic Punch, see the pivot into Cradily. Cradily going to be putting up that Protect Shield, correctly shielding up the Brave Bird. Place Your Wagers, goes for very nice fast move time in 3 Bullet Seeds and the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. This isn't a Brave Bird. What's their second move? They go for the fly, then send out Annihilate, trying to snipe. Place Your Wagers, says no. Fires off the grass knot, picks up the knockout, and we are spamming the switch. Let's go Machoke, let's go Machoke. Out comes Gudra. Machoke goes straight for the Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch, oof, big damage. Machoke looks like it's going to be unable to Karate Chop farm down. Before the Aqua Tails reach, we opt to throw the cross chop, picks up the knockout, back out, comes Talonflame. Machoke on a sliver of HP, reaches the cross chop, is resisted, but going to be enough to get the job done. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we've got some Shadow and Shadow Crime. Cradily into a Lowland Sandslash. Place Your Wagers, says no thank you. Save switches into Grumpig, and out comes that ever annoying Marshmallow Wigglytuff. Place Your Wagers, waste no time, fires off Dynamic Punch. They would hit for neutral and forces us an early Protect Shield. The opponent looking for that tap, charm down, farm down. Grumpig lands a second Dynamic Punch. The opponent still unable to charm farm down. Grumpig, I'm sorry buddy, I'll give you a whole heap of shit, but that was very impressive, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see King Cradily into Dusclops. Dusclops does have access to Ice Punch. Most people on Shadow Punch and Ice Punch, but if you're a mad lad like me, here for a good time, not a long time, you could be rocking that Hail Mary Poltergeist. As Place Your Wagers, tank the first Ice Punch. I'm anticipating him looking to play out the zero shield scenarios. We're able to survive back-to-back Ice Punches. Dusclops are not really very attack weight and hit somewhat like a wet noodle. The bulky Dusclops is going to be able to pick up the zero shield matchup, but this sets up an energy lead for Machoke. Machoke comes in, gets that one Karate Chop running start, and let's see what they send out. Carbink. I'm not sure on that, Mr. Opponent. Why would you send Carbink out into an energy lead Machoke? Machoke lands the first Dynamic Punch, and again, that is very impressive damage. This bot plug is so bloody bulky. The second Dynamic Punch also goes unshielded. Place Your Wagers, recognising whatever's in the back, probably doesn't want to see Machoke. The opponent bait with a power gem. Why? I'm not entirely sure. They're never reaching another move, and then send out Marowak. Marowak gets baited with the cross chop, and Grumpig hits the field of play. Even Shadow and Shadow Crime, Bone Club simply will not cut it. Place Your Wagers, tanks the damage, farms up, throws the Dynamic Punch on what looks like to be a charge attack priority, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Very, very nice play. The opponent fire off the Bone Club, go for an undercharge. The undercharge looks like an absolute beauty, and it's all down to Machoke to clean up. Machoke goes for the cross chop. The opponent makes a savage catch him back onto Carbink. The opponent mod slap Farmers down, and we take a heartbreaking defeat. But very well played, that opponent. despite running the stupid Carbig. I've got to say you played that nice. Heading into the next battle, we see the Cradily mirror. We're able to throw the Rock Tomb first, winning CMP, and the opponent choose to shield, which is a bit questionable. The Rock Tomb doesn't really do too much. We then see the pivot into Grumpig. So today's team isn't technically an ABB team, but place your wagers, we'll be using Grumpig, looking to bait out a ghost type, because of course Machoke will be fully walled, hitting for double resisted damage if the opponent has any ghosts in the back. In this scenario, it looks like no ghost types on the opposing team as Azumarill hits the field of play. I'm so on the fence with what I think on Grumpig. It's got that ghost fighting coverage that's currently unresisted in Pokemon Go, but the issue is we're not a ghost or fighting type. Our charge moves are quite expensive and none of them get stabbed, so I feel like it just never really does quite as much damage as you'd hope for. Speaking of not as much damage as you'd hope for, place your wagers, sent out Cradily, look for the one shield farm down, unable to get it, so opt to throw the Rock Tomb on the CMP tie. The opponent invest that protection, looking to force our final. Place your wagers, happy to oblige, shields it up and then snipes with Machoke. Out comes Marowak, Marowak greeted with the dynamic punch again. Whoa, that thing hits hard. Marowak fires off the Bone Club, Machoke shows respectable bulk, able to withstand the damage and even reach the cross chop. Well, I think we're very much in danger of getting Bullet Seed farmed down. Oh, Machoke! Machoke reaches the parting cross chop and cleans up. To be honest, so far so good. Machoke kind of looking nice, you know. Although, as I say that, we've seen something Machoke definitely doesn't want to be aligned against. Glare and Wheezing is going to double resist our fighting damage, much like a ghost type, as both Poison and Fairy do resist fighting. Place your wager was able to land the Rock Tomb, whittling this Glare and Wheezing down to around the third health. He then called the Sludge Bait. The opponent had the energy for the overheat. Have they got overheat? I'm not entirely sure. We then see the aggressive pivot into Grumpig, baiting out Raticate. This has got to be some kind of poison double dark line, and if that's the case, I think Machoke is going to go rampant, raging its way through this back line. We saw the instant no shield on Place Your Wagers, so he's likely calling the same team as me. Quite surprised to Place Your Wagers throw a charge move here. I think I would have considered the one shield and full Karate Chop farm down, but we're going to let Place Your Wagers cook. Back out comes Galarian Weezing. It looks like we're potentially going to try and double resisted Karate Chop farm this down. He over farms. Gonna fire off the cross chop, force the final protection, then able to snipe with Cradily. Is it another dark type? Technically not, but certainly something Machoke could bully, and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, fantastic lead. Cradily into the Pancake, aka Unova Stunfisk. Out comes Venusaur. Place your wagers, gonna fire off the Rock Tomb as soon as he gets it, which is good timing. A switch does take a turn. We then send out Grumpig. I love that chip and dip. This is where Grumpig is gonna shine. So we can now tank that Frenzy Plant, keep alignment, not even have to invest the Protect Shield, and have energy good to go. Back out comes the Pancake. We fire off the first Dynamic Punch, doing around half the health, and we're already the second. The opponent now finds himself between a rock and a hard place. The opponent just opt to let it go, send out their own Cradily, but Grumpig still not done. Gonna fire off one further Dynamic Punch, force the Protect Shield, and here comes Machoke. I'd probably call a Rock Tomb bait here, to be honest. Thankfully, it's Place Your Wagers playing and not washed up Jamie Finn Pogo. The opponent was not baiting. Machoke probably spies a Grass Knot, not well, but probably tanks one. And if they're not baiting again, I guess we'll see how much damage that does. Ouch, that hurts. The opponent then send out Stunfisk, try for the snipe. Place Your Wagers says no, fires off the cross chop, removing them from the field of play. We send back our own Cradily. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see yet another Cradily. It's kind of funny to think this thing is so bloody common nowadays. I remember back in Season 8, I tried so hard to get this thing to Legend and was unsuccessful, and it was very much a cool, spicy or meme pick. However, nowadays it's very much a top tier threat. Place Your Wagers. It seems to run an attack weighted Cradily. We've won CMP now numerous times in the Cradily mirror. We say switch into Grumpig, baiting out Drapion. We're able to obtain ourselves a shield advantage here in the mid-game matchup. Place Your Wagers, going to send out Machoke. Aquatel, not the most threatening move, but Machoke going to invest the Protect Shield and look to keep itself as healthy as possible. We're now going to get to see the Aquatel land. It looks like Place Your Wagers was happy to tank one in exchange for more residual energy. Fire off the cross chop, moving Drapion from the field of play. Cradily cannot return. Out comes G-Weezy. Oof, this looks like a tough game to win. The Shadow Sludge forces our final Protect Shield, but Cradily re-enters the arena. We do win CMP. We maximise our farm, but I advise the opponent I just shield, fire off my own charge move, and unfortunately this one is going to end in defeat. Rock Tomb picks up the knockout. We send out Machoke, try and karate chop farm down unsuccessfully, and we're going to move swiftly on. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we've got yet more Shadow and Shadow Crime with Cradily into Drapion. The opponent fire off the crunch, then attempt to catch a Rock Tomb, onto Steelix, the catch attempt unsuccessful, and Machoke hits the field of play. Place your wagers, gonna tank the Psychic Fangs, which does mean the opponent could realign at the cost of both Protect Shields. I'm not entirely sure that's a play I'd go for, but was an option, and I know some people love to force alignment at all costs. The opponent actually goes for the smarter play of losing switch advantage, sending back out Drapion in exchange for a very nice Poison Sting farm down. Back out comes Cradily. Awful get bait of an Aqua Tail, that feels bad, man. Undeterred, place your wagers, gonna fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb isn't lethal. We attempt to throw back to back, but the opponent decides to catch on Mandibars, and that certainly works for us as Grumpig isn't gonna fancy this flying vulture. We're able to reach one further Rock Tomb, now forcing a 2-stage attack drop on Mandibars, and Grumpig finally enters the arena. We've seen Grumpig putting a lot of work in today's video, however this is definitely a situation which I've found super frustrating. Dynamic Punch, a very good move, but without same type attack bonus, that is not Dynamic Punch range. But thankfully Cradily's already done the heavy lifting and the opponent is going to concede the match. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle we see Cradily into Golisopod. Both Pokemon have the ability to hit one another for super effective damage. The opponent going to strike first, firing off the X-Scissor. We see place your wagers, invest that Protect Shield, look to fire off the Rock Tomb, the opponent catches onto their own Cradily. Place your wagers, gonna farm up, look to return the favour, catching the Rock Tomb onto Machoke. Despite a -1 attack stat currently, Machoke will have no problem muscling its way through this mid-game matchup. Place your wagers, over farms, fires off the cross chop on the charge attack priority, removing Cradily from the field of play. Out comes the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death. The debuff Dynamic Punch, to be fair, still did a very solid chunk. Machoke still not done. Gonna reach Dynamic Punch number 2, doing almost all of Talonflame's HP. Place your wager, sends out Grumpig, looks to use it as the damage sponge. This 2-shielded Golisopod is going to provide a somewhat of a headache for us. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to get rid of it. Place your wagers, sends out Cradily, applies that annoying debuff, and we are going to shield the first move and look to outpace the Rock Tomb number 2. X-Scissor does force that Protect Shield. Place your wagers, is able to outpace the second Rock Tomb. And the question now becomes, can we survive an X-Scissor? We've seen place your wagers is running an attack weighted Cradily. I think my Cradily would survive here. So does his, but not well. We then see the Simul Swap Grumpig, able to sidewave farm down, but unfortunately just gets outpaced. Golisopod fires off the X's, removing us from the field of play. Cradily gets Shadow Claw farm down, and we take a heartbreaking defeat. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we lead King Cradily into the ever-annoying Clodsire. Nice to catch it in the lead position, and this is another Pokemon that Machoke, having a mono-fighting moveset, is really going to struggle into. Place your wagers, unlock a lot of Cradily users and not going for any silly Rock Tomb baits when it is resisted, looking to apply the debuff, instead just going for damage. We get Clodsire low, attempt to snipe with our sideways, baiting out Sableye. Sableye is probably one of the only ghost type that Machoke wouldn't do too bad into. By no means would it be a good matchup, at least our fighting type damage is only single resisted as opposed to most ghosts who will double resist fighting. The opponent heavily overfarms before removing Grumpig from the field of play. We send out Machoke, respect the Dazzling Gleam, of course get baited with the foul play. Machoke just looking to remove the Sableye from the field of play, fires off the cross chop, force the Protect Shield, and we make a very nice catch the next foul play back onto Cradily. Oh man, this team is triple strong into Machoke. Machoke literally has nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Despite this being a type disadvantage matchup, you can see the combination of Karate Chop and Dynamic Punch is kind of absurd. It just does so much damage even when single resisted. Place your wagers, looking to bounce back after a couple of very tough games. We're off to a decent start. I'm going to say decent, as the opponent does have access to Ice Beam that hit for a lot of super effective damage, but just like that, the opponent looks to call the bait, hashtag no baits on this channel, and near get one shot. With an attempt to catch an Ice Beam onto Grumpig, unsuccessfully the opponent fires off the Rock Tomb, then send out Morpeko. Morpeko, despite us being debuffed, put up that Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Dynamic Punch. Aura Will removes us from the field of play, and here comes Machoke. I feel like we haven't gone off on a mad tangent in today's video. I know Place Your Wagers' favourite Pokemon happens to be Morpeko. He's one of the few trainers that can navigate this on the Show 6 circuit. If you follow the Play Pokemon series, you'll know no one's running Morpeko. Place Your Wagers actually paired against one of my faction's teammates, as our faction played his, and he was able to navigate it to a crazy 2-1 win against a highly talented battler. Why you have to do us like that, bro? I actually watched the battles live on stream, and I'll be honest, I was like, place your wagers, you were playing out of your mind. Sometimes you're going to take the defeat and just got to say fair play to your opponent, because he was playing phenomenally well. This looks like it's going to be a bittersweet moment for Place Your Wagers, as Machoke about to bully its way through the remaining health of Morpeko, leave with the Dynamic Punch locked and loaded. We don't even bubble it, but it's going to be enough to get the job done. GG's. Heading into the next battle. Not fantastic. Cradily potentially is going to get one shot before it even throws a charge move. The opponent actually allows us to throw the Grass Knot. Grass Knot lands for massive damage, and we snipe with Machoke. Oh, that worked out horribly for the opponent. Out comes Talonflame. In theory, Machoke completely walled here, but Machoke able to force a protection with the Dynamic Punch. Machoke still not done, fires off the second Dynamic Punch, and again, that is just monstrous damage. The opponent looking for that Incinerate farm down, unable to achieve it. Machoke actually forces both Protect Shields here in that mid-game matchup. Despite Place Your Wagers having completely the wrong alignment to this point in this battle, we're very much in the driver's seat. Out comes Marowak, and this game is signed, sealed and delivered. Place Your Wagers even looking to shield flex on his opponent, knowing that Bone Club simply will not cut it. We've got that Grass Knot locked and loaded. High Marowak, by Marowak. Talonflame does Incinerate farm down, but in turn, we're going to side away farm them down and take that game. Very, very well played battle. GG's. In the next battle, we find ourselves at yet another Cradily mirror match. To this point in the video, we've won CMP in the mirror every single time, but it looks like our opponent running even more attack-weighted Cradily than we are. If you're going to use some of these really common Pokemon, stuff like Cradily, Sableye, etc., there is some merit to running some attack weight, as you do get stuck in these annoying mirror matches far more often than you'd like. So having a higher attack does allow you to win that CMP tie. We saw Place Your Wagers pivot into Grumpig, and Grumpig is pretty hard countered by Mandibars. These Dynamic Punches do hit back for neutral, but this is just never a matchup you win in any shield scenario. The opponent leaves with Residual Energy. It looks like we're sending out Cradily. Just going to use it as a damage sponge. I'm going to anticipate us pivot out here as we do, going for that one shield, farm down. I hope this Machoke energy goes somewhere in the back. Hopefully it's not a ghost type. It isn't a ghost, but it's a very, very bulky psychic type, and I don't think Machoke is going to be able to do enough damage. Dynamic Punch does a decent chunk, but it looks like we're going to need to land at least a cross chop and one further Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch forced the Protect Shield, and we're now about to get annoyingly debuffed by the incoming Rock Tomb. Our switch timer is now up, but Machoke rapidly running out of HP. We reset our debuff. Machoke on invisible HP, gonna fire off the Dynamic Punch, but the opponent still got Mandibars and that Cradily alive. The opponent send out Mandibars, and we get heartbrokenly resisted Snail farm down. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see a battle of grass types. So pvpoke on Monday updated their rankings in preparation for all three leagues returning. I believe for the first time ever, we've got a shadow Pokemon reigning supreme in that #1 spot in the Great League, and that would be Jumpluff. Kind of cool to see, to be honest. It's normally stuff like Corviknight. We've seen Skarmory, Registeel, Azumarill, Metachan, yada yada yada, but now Shadows aren't here to take part. They are clearly on that takeover. The opponent sends out that #1 ranked pick, Jumpluff, to do a pretty good job of walling this energy. I think Jumpluff is kind of in a niche role as a shadow. Outputs decent damage thanks to the buff to acrobatics, and it's also got loads of bulk. You can see that Jumpluff is tanking them Dynamic Punches objectively better than Talonflame did. The opponent opt to send out Morpeko. We see the quick switch back into Cradily with Residual Energy good to go, immediately firing off the Rock Tomb. The opponent go for the Psychic Fangs. Place Your Wagers looks to fire off the next Rock Tomb, and this is just a Psychic Fangs, right? Place Your Wagers not willing to shield that. The opponent is never ever Thundershock farming us down. The opponent recognised the game's over. You saw the pop up in the right hand corner, and they are going to concede the match. Heading into the next battle. Cradily into the annoying Marshmallow Wigglytuff. Place Your Wagers. Don't lose to Wigglytuff. There's nothing more annoying than losing to a tap Charmer. We fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb goes unshielded. The opponent probably go for the Icy Wind, which at this point will be removing us from the field of play. No, we survived, Cradily, you absolute monster. The opponent, like a lot of degenerate charm users, opts to shield to force alignment, but their 2-stage debuff, meaning Grumpig gets a very nice sidewave farm down and doesn't take much charm damage whatsoever. Out comes Gastrodon. Surprise, surprise, someone using Wigglytuff and Gastrodon. I've had to guess it's probably another Mudslap user in the back, as that Wigglytuff double Mudslap team has been annoying for like 3 or 4 seasons since whenever they buffed Mudslap, I think like season 19 or something. The opponent reveals their third, which actually isn't a Mudslap user, but it's something we can certainly bully our way through, and then they concede the match. Jamie Finn, your team calling, not on point today. Heading into the next battle, I see you, Mr. Opponent, running double Legacy Shadow Pidgeot. Gust, of course, Legacy, and Air Cutter, also a Legacy move. I think this Pokemon is so much fun in the current meta. As the opponent went for the Air Cutter, as soon as they got it, they give us a free Bullet Seed, meaning we're going to be able to outpace the back-to-back Rock Tombs, forcing both protections off the opponent. As the double debuffed Air Cutter doesn't get the job done, and Cradily is going to be picking up the knockout. Poor old Pidgeot gets one-shot vanquished. Back to its Pokeball, out comes Swampert, and I'm almost certain this time, I'm calling it, it's Diggersby in the back. This is the team that I showcased, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or something. This team is absolute fire. Come on, show me the Shadow Diggersby. No, we're wrong on the team call again. It's Morpeko, but Morpeko straight in and straight out. Dynamic Punch picks up that one-hit KO, and we don't even reveal our third. Heading into the next battle, yet another Wigglytuff in the lead. Oh, honestly, why do people run this stupid bloody Pokemon? This opponent even more keen than our last opponent to force alignment as they shield the first Rock Tomb. Place Your Wagers once again, knows he survives this move, withstands the damage and reaches Rock Tomb number 2. He concedes the farm down, not wanting to switch lock himself, sends out Grumpig. Grumpig once again gets a massive sidewave farm down. Oh boy, we are very appreciative for this huge energy lead. Shadow Ball, Rocks Corsola to round the third health. Dynamic Punch, double resisted, but is enough to get the job done. We pivot into Machoke, and surprise, surprise, there's the Gastrodon. Machoke with a 2-to-1 shield advantage, and we are certainly home and dry. The opponent critically shield at the first Dynamic Punch, but Machoke says, don't worry, you stupid snail, there's plenty more of where that came from. The second one picks up that one-hit KO. Get that snail off my screen. And we end today's video with a big fat dub. GG's, and thanks for playing. And that is just about going to wrap things up for a very fun and highly entertaining shoutcast from Place Your Wagers. So is Machoke a sim hero, or is it a legit top meta threat? I think, to be honest, if Machoke got coverage, it would find itself probably inside the top 10, despite it being stuck on a mono fighting moveset. You can see this thing just puts in work. Even in type disadvantage matchups, we've seen that combination of Karate Chop and Dynamic Punch. You can just moss your way through so many matchups you have no right in winning. If it does get coverage, I think this is a must build. Currently, it's good, not mandatory, but a very fun pick. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. Link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.